Versatile Mage. Chapter 405. Put on your clothes. Mo Fan remembered the training at Dongting Lake was around the start of the year, and yet it was almost the end of the year before he was on his way back to school. He could not help but reflect on what he had gone through during this period of time. First, he fought against a giant lizard with the lineage of the dragon race, then stumbled into a murderous commander who was as merciless as a devil. After that, he lived like a caveman in the wild for a few months and played some mind games with the Xuanwu giant lizard and the giant poisonous centipede. Last but not least, he was only planning a visit to a girl at Hangzhou City, yet found himself in a terrible mess. If he weren't currently on his way back to Pearl Institute wearing his uniform, he could not help but wonder if he had somehow turned into a walking catastrophe who would stir chaos wherever he went. Why does it feel like Mars would be a lot safer than Earth? Screw it, it wouldn't make any difference if he kept thinking about it. He should go back to his apartment as soon as possible. He took out the key he hid under a pot and efficiently unlocked the door. Sister Mew, isn't the Zhou Shuming a bit too full of himself? He even boasted shamelessly that you're going to be their Zhou clan's daughter-in-law in front of the public. I know he's strong, but how dare he put you under the spotlight without your consent? Isn't he aware that the trend of acting like a tyranny CEO is too old-fashioned? I've never seen anyone as shameless and proud as him, apart from that asshole Demon King. Tutu snapped. Mu Nujiao was sitting on the couch, her slim figure sinking into the sofa slightly. Her head was leaning backward, allowing her hair to fall down along the back of the couch. She looked like a grand swan holding its neck upright. She rubbed her forehead softly with a rather tired look. She did not respond to Tutu. Seemingly aware of something, Mu Nujiao turned around and glanced at the entrance with a frown. The heavy door opened. A young man with a bright smile walked in through the gap. He first glanced at the living room, before taking off his shoes and placing them on the shelves. He hung his backpack on the hooks beside him and took his jacket off. His flow of actions was enough to imply that he had gotten used to the setup around him. It felt like home to him. In the living room, the eyes of Mu Nujiao and Tutu opened wide. They simply stared at the man who had barged into their apartment for a few seconds. Sister Mew, is that a ghost I'm looking at? Tutu asked in disbelief. She quickly looked out of the window. The sun was out and bright, its light had lit the room up well. She never knew that a ghost was capable of walking around freely in bright day. Mu Nujiao stared at the man in silence. Her eyes were filled with complicated feelings. So which asshole is more of a jerk than me? Miss Tutu, feel free to tell me his name. I'm obliged to. Curse him to death on your behalf, blurted out Mo Fan indifferently. He was wearing a smile on his face, as if nothing had ever happened. You. Tutu could not find the right word as she pointed her finger at Mo Fan. She swallowed a mouthful of saliva to adjust her thoughts, before she finally managed to speak properly. Aren't you dead? Mo Fan burst out laughing. Many people have survived jumping off a cliff, so why would I die so easily? Besides, how could I possibly leave the mum and daughter alone? I'm not a man who is willing to give someone else a chance to take advantage of my circumstances. Humph, we're sisters, not mother and daughter, Tutu said with a smirk. Don't you switch the topic. Are you a ghost or human? If you're a human, why did everyone say you're dead? If you're a ghost, how dare you still spy on us sisters, even after you're dead? You're a monster. I'm warning you, I've awakened the soul element. If you dare take another step, I will erase you, yelled Tutu. Meanwhile, Mu Nujiao seemed like she had something to say. She nudged Tutu with her elbow. Tutu spread her arms out and stood in front of her sister. You shall never lay your hand on us. You better set your eyes on reincarnation instead. Mu Nujiao finally ran out of patience. She stepped forward and blocked Tutu with her body. Sister, I'm not afraid of him, said Tutu. Mu Nujiao let out a cough and whispered blushingly, well, Tutu, you better put on your clothes first. Tutu was stunned. She slowly lowered her head and realized her fairly large breasts were exposed to the air. They were still trembling slightly due to her heavy breathing. Ugh! I-Tutu screamed out in embarrassment. You pervert, why did you remove my clothes? While screaming, I-Tutu covered her breasts and fled upstairs. As a woman with 34D breasts, her running was a spectacular view. It was so gorgeous that Mo Fan could feel his nose heating up. Mu Nujiao tapped her forehead softly after seeing I-Tutu's panicked reaction. How slow could this I-Tutu be? It had been a while since the two girls were the only ones living in the apartment. It was cold outside, but the apartment was warm with the heaters. I-Tutu was never bothered with trifles. She always complained that her bras were too tight, thus she would normally take them off after coming back home, and would not bother wearing clothes. She would simply lie on the couch and watch her dramas. In fact, many girls would do the same when they were home alone. However, they never thought Mo Fan, who was supposed to be dead, would barge in all of a sudden. She ended up presenting herself to him half naked. I guess your living habits are better, aren't you surprised? Mo Fan and Mu Nujiao were left in the living room. Mu Nujiao's eyes flickered with shame and anger. She should be happy knowing Mo Fan had survived, yet she somehow assumed he was doing it on purpose to achieve his evil goal. She replied, I thought so. A bad guy like you wouldn't die so easily. So you will speak bitingly too, or maybe the fact that I'm still alive has made you lose your mind, that you can no longer hold yourself back. Mo Fan squinted theatrically. Mu Nujiao was not bothered by the remark. Either way, it was a relief knowing that he was still alive. Even if she were to let it go and rebuke him, he would not listen at all. Mo Fan. I-Tutu's voice like a lioness exploded from upstairs. The entire unit began to tremble. Mu Nujiao glanced at the stairs before looking at Mo Fan. You take care of yourself. Mu Nujiao put on her lint slippers and headed for the stairs, leaving behind Mo Fan, who was about to suffer the consequences. Shouldn't you give me a reunion hug? Mo Fan asked with a wry smile as he watched Mu Nujiao drifting away. Mu Nujiao was halfway up the stairs. She cast a glance back at him speechlessly, before continuing on her way to her room. Mo Fan watched the slim curves of her back. What a pity. Mu Nujiao slowly closed the door as she entered her room. She leaned against the door and raised her head upward. She closed her eyes, feeling extremely relieved. A while later, her red lips curled slightly upwards. After her eyes sprang open once again, it seemed like the world had become more exciting. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.